The coronavirus crisis is turning everyday life into something far from normal. Many families are understandably having a hard time adjusting. Joining us now with advice on how we and our kids can get through the storm is Dr. Martha Reyes, a clinical psychologist at California's Hosanna Foundation. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right.
Glad to be. Mhm.
Thank you. Can all of this pandemic information that's out there 24/7 be traumatic to our children?
Certainly can. I think children are going to be the most vulnerable of populations when it comes to emotional trauma. We speak about the older adults to be the most vulnerable population for physical harm, but the children are going to be the ones that are going to receive the most of the emotional harm if we're not careful in tailoring our information or the information they receive according to their frame of references. They don't have all the resources that we as adults have. You know, we can cope with many things. We have another point of references. We have many experiences. We've gone through this, we've gone through that. Kids have what we tell them to have, what we give them, and their experience, in their surroundings, or what the Disney movies tell them, everything is going to be okay at the very end. The fairy godmother is going to come with magic wand and solve everything. And so how do we communicate a message that we have to be cautious and we have to collaborate and we have to stay at home?
Yeah, I struggle with this with my kids even. What should parents do to explain the pandemic to children to help them cope and not make them so frightened?
Well, this is when the language and also the verbal and nonverbal communication have to really be good here. We really need to use all our cognitive and emotional positive resources. So we need to tell the kids, what, everything is going to be okay. There are many people working on our behalf. There are many positive changes and good news. And let's make homeschooling also a moment to teach them psychological tools on how to survive future traumas or terrible experiences in life. So this is when the family comes together. This is when we make a plan. This is when we comfort each other. This is when we do fun, creative, and educational activities, and we don't get bored at home. And this is also when parents are going to be very loving and very careful.
Okay, and what do you think will be the long-term effects, if any, on kids from being quarantined and participating in distance learning?
We have to start normalizing some of their activities. I know it's difficult to normalize the abnormal, but at least when they are ready to make the transition, that they don't feel awkward again. It's like when we go to a long vacation, and how do we readjust to a schedule again of working? As adults, we experience something like that. So we have to start incorporating some of the activities at home in a limited way, in a rehearsed way, and kind of try to normalize as much as possible what seems to be not very normal. But everything is going to depend on them not being left alone to try to quantify and understand and make inventory of all the emotional bombardment that's taking place around them in an adult world.
All right, great advice. Martha Reyes, a doctor of clinical psychology. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome.
If you're watching Currents News on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and then click on the bell to get instant updates about all of our newest content, because we are putting your faith in the news.